I was interviewed yesterday. I had an interview with someone from the US, and we did a Skype interview, and they recorded it, and they said, what's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew back then? Great question. What's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew back then? You know what the answer came to me was? That everything is going to be okay. I wish I knew that back then, because I would have freaking relaxed a little bit and started and enjoyed the process rather than fight it and think it's meant to be in a different way. And that's what the answer. I was just thought, what a beautiful answer. Like, seriously, if I knew that everything was going to be okay, even though when my car was getting repossessed, and I thought I had a tumor at one stage, and I was getting eviction notices from home, having no money, having no love, getting fat, getting all this stuff going on. It's just like, if I just could talk back to that part of myself, 7, 8 years ago, and go, hey, it's going to be okay, and get myself back then to sense the feeling that I have right now, I would be just like, all right, let's ride this wave then, Yeah, that's right. It wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't have experienced it the way I would have experienced it. Microphone, please. Anyway, the point is, yes, we don't even need to say it, no microphone. I wouldn't have experienced it, the fear, the way I would have experienced it. It's like, and that's true.
It would have changed the circumstance.
And that's true. But it's just a little awesome realization. It's like we're going to the State of Origin tonight, and I tell you guys, the score is going to be New South Wales 24, Queensland 6. Right? Why are you all laughing, But the point is, it will be boring. You'll be like, even if it was Queensland 24, New South Wales 6, I still want to experience the loss. I do. I want to experience the loss. I want to experience the win. I want to experience, so you're right. It wouldn't be the same. So, yeah, good point. And if you put your hand up. Microphone.
I'd rather not.
Is that on?
I was just going to say, the first part of this morning, I felt a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit understanding and not understanding, and I was a little bit panicky over that because I felt I should have known. And then I sat back and thought I'd just let it wash through me, because what I couldn't comprehend, or it was too heavy for me, then I just needed to let it wash through me.
So how do you feel now?
A lot lighter.
After you let it wash through you?
After the realisation of thinking, it's all too much, and I could easily just roll over and go to sleep. Because it was really intense for me. And so now I feel much lighter.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. How was everyone else feeling, by the way? I was speaking to John, and he was telling me, you agitated. That's your thoughts or your ego in there going, we're basically talking about you being the unknown, which is what infinity is. Infinity is unknown, because the moment it's known, it's finite. So to be the unknown, the ego, like we spoke about in the month of the ego loses itself there. There's no ego there. Ego dies because ego only identifies to form. And like I said this morning so far, your thoughts the ones that are positively or negatively charged, are all related or linked to something to do with form. It's all linked to something to do with form. Unless it's you as the one using your thoughts, but then it's not charged. Okay, and you can use that to internalize and to ponder, but it's not you using it. That's what I want you to understand, because if you think it's you using it, you're already going, okay, so when I leave here, I'm going to start doing this. And you're looking for the doing process. And I'm like, no, there's nothing for you to do except to experience what's meant to be. Just experience it. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, when I spoke, or when someone mentioned about the lighter thoughts, or the thoughts that come from the feelings or the inner voice, and I realised that we have chosen that path in order for us to understand it or hear it. But is that not also feeding the mind? Because then, the mind comes in and hijacks it. So I wonder, is there a way to allow those feelings to come through and speak to your thoughts without letting your mind hijack it, or you just become more aware and it doesn't happen? Or
well, what do you think letting your mind hijack it means? What does that mean to you?
That my thoughts, that the thought that came from a feeling, then it's more of sort of like a quiet voice, if you would, like a quiet tap on the shoulder.
Let me simplify it for you. All right. The hijacking is when your thoughts, remember your ego either tries to take credit or gives blame. It tries to build yourself up or beat yourself up. So in this case, the ego is taking credit, going, I thought of that. I, and that part of you that you go, I, the identity, is the ego, right? So it's going, I thought of that. I chose to love that.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I also think then it's feeding. So there's never, it seems to me like there will never come a time where that won't happen. It will always be happening.
For as long as that you are living and residing within this body, for as long as you are living and residing within this body, that is true. Yeah. You are living in here. And everything about your world is about your internal world. And then you have this conflict between the external and the internal, which you're going back to duality. That's when people first come onto the path of spirituality or self-awareness or whatever you want to call it, they come to their path, they have a conflict. The external is, it's not about the external, it's about the internal. So they have this thing that separates, there's the internal. So everything is about dealing with the stuff about how you feel, and it's about your stuff. It's about how you're processing, which is cool. That's how you start. But then you're going to get to a point, and this is where we're at now, we're at the halfway point of OMG. You get to a point where then it's no longer just about the inside, it's about the outside, because you're not only residing inside, because the only part of you that's residing inside is the drop. Take a deep breath in. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. That's how much your capacity is. That's how much power you can have. As much as you can breathe in, that's how much your power, because you in physical form is this much. That's how much power you have. Right? Rather than being outside, like the practice we were doing this morning, the meditation this morning, you are outside and you are putting yourself into the form of a breath and going in and then coming back out. If you're going in and coming back out, you'll never become the drop, you become the ocean moving the drop. But you go back into the body and you go, I am breathing, I am thinking, you are the drop. The drop does not have the power to move the ocean. The drop does not move the ocean. You are not driving the bus. You have no control. You can choose how you perceive things, but you are not manifesting what's going on. And if you experience yourself manifesting, you as the drop, as the identity, if you experience manifesting, go, oh my God, I thought about that and it happened, right? It's because it's supportive for you to have the experience that you are manifesting, so you can continue to keep following the feeling until you realize, no, that's not the part that's manifesting. The part of you that's manifesting is not trying to manifest. So a lot of the practice coming up to the back end of OMG, the next 6 months, is all about being outside. A lot of the practice so far is all about resolving what's inside. We're at the halfway point now. We're now going outside. This is the point. From next month, we're talking about outside. You are not in here, you are out there. And you were talking to me about before, about the meditation you were experiencing this morning. And you said that, let me see if I can remember correctly, when you were doing that meditation, you felt like you were not only breathing into this body, you were breathing into all the bodies around here. That's right. Now you're beginning to experience being infinite, living in a finite world. When I say being infinite, living in a finite world, somebody thinks, me, I, the identity, I as Wendy, I'm the infinite being. No, you're not. You're the drop. Wendy's the drop. The infinite being is through all. You are outside. You are not inside, which I will continue to talk about this afternoon. We've dealt with the inside. We've been dealing with it for the last 6 months. Now you go outside. But what's going to stop you from going outside is if you haven't dealt with the stuff on the inside, and then the moment you try to go outside, your inside stuff keeps pulling you back in. And what's the inside stuff? It's just your emotions and the thinking, the feelings and the thinking. But you go outside, in the space, there's no feeling or thinking. So therefore, you're not thinking. And when you do that, you can see how this is just a dream. Microphone. See, you got to sit right next to me because you think I can, But if you're sitting over there, you'll put your hand up. Wendy.
So I lose my thought then.
I know, I understand.
So the things that happen, that was the one before. So if you haven't fixed, or if you've not resolved what's inside,
yeah,
how would you go about that?
It's acceptance. Resolving is purely accepting something, and what's going to make you stronger in accepting something, and it comes down to reclaiming power, which we've spoken about many times, but that's what acceptance is. I just lost my, hang on a sec. I'm glad you used that word resolve, because I saw you going into the fix and then you went, okay, no, hang on, it's resolve. So you see, right there, you decided to go drop in and get a truer word. Now, word is a word and it's a form of label of judgment, right?
Yes.
But that word resolve describes more what's true than fix. Okay? So see, you have the capacity to drop in. You just stopped yourself and you just dropped in. All right? So that's how you do. That's the answer to your question. The moment you catch yourself, I don't even remember what your question was, but that's the answer to it. All right? The moment you catch yourself in that, what was your question again? Tell me quickly. To fix something or to resolve something?
Yeah, I was going to, if you find it difficult to resolve something that is...
Okay, drop in the moment where you find something that you need to resolve, drop in deeper, just like you just did then. Right then, you dropped in from your head, and you dropped in and picked up a feeling and then brought it back to your head. Mm-hmm. Right? It's almost like you're sewing up here, and then you went, no, I need a different thing. And you dropped in and picked it up, and then you went back to the sewing, which is the talking. Okay? So you have the capacity to do that. You just did it. Right?
I noticed.
Okay, so that's what you do. In the moments where you feel something needs to be resolved, you've got to drop in deeper. You're in the story, so drop in deeper.
Okay. That makes sense.
Look, here's the thing. All right? It's awesome to go and resolve your stuff. You know why it's awesome? Because you're practicing dropping in deeper. Right? But I will say this, for as long as you're looking for things to resolve, you will find things to resolve. You're never going to get out of it. Right? It's powerful it's a powerful practice to go and resolve your stuff. Because you are dropping in, you're learning to be present, you're dropping in to be deeper, right? You're getting more connection, because everything is about connection, right? But if you drop in deep enough, there's nothing to resolve. So, before we were speaking about, is it that thoughts become things or things become thoughts? So that's my question, my next question. Because in many different teachings you'll hear that, well, thoughts become things. What you think about becomes things. Which has some truth to it, and we'll talk about, because it really comes down to who thinks. Who is using the thinking, right? Or, because when I raise the question, is it things becoming thoughts? The reason I raise that question is because your positive or negative thoughts are all connected to things. Do you understand? And when I say things, I'm talking about form. Every thought you're having, those, they say we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Every thought is linked or related somehow to things. So then my question is it things that are creating your thoughts? Or is it your thought that creates things? Microphone?
I've read that there's subconscious thoughts like belief, which are beliefs. We may have grown up thinking that murder's not okay. That's a subconscious belief. So when I see someone kill someone, my thought is, oh, that's terrible, because of that belief.
Okay, so
Beneath. So it's a subconscious thought that I'm not aware of at the time, that you shouldn't kill people.
yeah. And where does your beliefs come from?
Your background, your culture, childhood.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else?
Also the same with reading and the information that comes into your life that you read and stuff like that. Says that your thoughts are your life. So the things that you think about manifest into your life. But I also feel that the things that I'm thinking about that do come to manifest are teaching me something to help me move through that thought, so I don't think that thought anymore.
So the first thing you said was what you read in a book. The second thing you said is what
I've heard a lot around.
Okay, so I want to know what you feel. I think the second thing is what you feel.
That's what I feel.
Good.
But that's what I've read or society poses and things
So
like
say
that.
what you feel again.
I feel that the thoughts that are coming up in my mind do manifest into my life.
Yeah.
I'm very aware that what I think will be.
Yeah.
But I also know that it doesn't matter that I think this stuff and it does manifest, because within the manifesting and the experiences, I learn to move through those thoughts, and then they become, whether they're there or not there anymore, it doesn't matter. I'm not attached to those thoughts anymore.
All right. So, and then when you say I, who are you talking about?
Well, that's a very good question now.
Do you feel that the identity has any power in this?
I feel it does and it doesn't.
How does it? And how doesn't it?
Well, I've just finished OMG Intensive.
Yeah.
So if you had asked me that question before, I probably wouldn't have really understood what you were saying. And now I just feel confused. So I feel like there's a heavy posing of question there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I can't I don't really feel the need to define the difference. It's just there.
Okay.
So that I don't know what that I is, but it's just what was speaking through me at this particular moment. That makes sense.
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm trying to make it make sense for you.
Okay.
It makes sense to me, but I can't really put it into words.
So here's a question, not necessarily for you, but for anyone. Where does your thoughts come from? I mean, and thank you for that. Where does your thoughts come from? I mean, we spoke about before, suddenly you feel a love to do something, or you feel inspired to do something, or you feel moved for something, right? Well, where did that come from? If it's truly something that's moved, it just pops up, just like a bubble rising into the ocean, from the deep within the ocean. It rises, and then right when it gets to the surface of the ocean, the surface being you, it just goes pop, and it's gone. It's not like pop, and then the story and why I should do it, or it just goes pop, and it's just a moment of within you. That's what it feels like, and then you realize, I love her, I love him, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Where did that come from? We just spoke really briefly before that you didn't choose that. Your ego just took ownership and went, I chose now to write a book. And then it also then goes, this is why I'm writing the book. I'll come back to you in a sec. This is why I'm writing the book. And this is how I'm going to write the book. But there's no why, there's no reason, because love doesn't have a reason. So then my question that arises next is, well, where does thinking come from?
So if all that exists is the present moment, then and your experiences are what your ego is attached to, maybe that's one side of the thought spectrum, and the other side is infiniteness. And if ego doesn't exist, and both are one and the same, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It just comes from that feeling. The second I start thinking, oh, I love that because I'm good at it, or because my mates do it and I want to do it as well, or whatever it is, that ego attachment, that's those other thoughts coming in, is it not? Ego's not a bad thing. It doesn't exist anyway. So it's just a sense and a feeling of
Got to be very
taking action or not.
careful with this, because when I say the ego, in truth, it doesn't exist. Because in truth, there's only one energy. So in truth, there's only infinity. Right? So in truth, there's no such thing as finite. But you came here and you are experiencing the finite, which is not the truth. Right? I just because when the ego can grab hold of this and interpret it through its own interpretation. Does that make sense? I remember Gaz. Most of you know my sister Gaz, and she'll probably kill me for talking about this, but no, she won't care. Gaz, when we first were grasping all this information, and one of the things that we realized is like, well, everything is an illusion, right? But those illusions have roles. And who gave them the roles? I, as the one, gave it the role. And in the story, its role is to do something until you've reclaimed the power from it. Does that make sense? So one of the things that Gaz said is, well, food's not real. I don't have to worry about getting fat. I can eat whatever I want. That doesn't make me fat. This is the realization she had in her head. And Gaz went, she completely ballooned out. Can you see? Because in her as a one gave a role for this food to do this, and this food to do that. Is that true? No. But you gave power. You put power in it to do that. But in truth, okay, and until you've had a direct experience of the truth, it will continue to do that. And the direct experience of the truth means you've reclaimed the power and realized that you gave the power for it to do that, so therefore you took the power back. Does that make sense? Just be very careful how you interpret, or which part of you is interpreting what I'm saying. Does smoking kill you? Rhiannon, yes, it does, all right? But does it? No, but you told it to. Does that make sense? See, but the ego will go, all right, then I can go back on the drugs, I can go back on my cigarettes or whatever it is, because you're like, it can't hurt me. That's the truth, but you have to be that truth, not just know that truth. It's very different. You've got to be careful. I will give you a heads up right now. I took Gaz ballooning out, and before she started to come back in, and realized, that's just how I interpret it in my head. In the story, you may want to experience, there's a part of you that is going to be supportive for whatever reason for you to have lung cancer. So then you create this story to support why you're getting lung cancer. I smoke. Or, if you don't smoke, I used to smoke. Or, if you never used to smoke, when I was 19, I used to work in a bar and they all used to smoke. That's why I got it. Does that make sense? That you were going to get lung cancer, you decided to get lung cancer right now, and then you have a story that will support why you got lung cancer. So it's not the cigarette that got lung cancer. You programmed into the computer lung cancer. Because nothing outside of you has power. But you programmed for it to have power. You programmed yourself to be here, experiencing yourself in the physical being. And it's a journey to unprogram. And that's what we call reclaiming power. So, I know what you're saying. Be very careful if the ego is saying what the ego is not real. Here's the thing. Usually if you have a moment of insight and you know it's insight, you feel light. If you're speaking and you're feeling heavy, there's a heaviness, you know who's speaking. At least you use your senses. When you have a conversation with yourself and there's a heaviness, you know who's speaking. If there's a lightness, insights, the bubble's rising up. And another clue, because I don't want any of you guys to lose yourself, and if you're meant to, you will, right? Another clue is when you have realizations, you don't have this major, that's the way I'm going to do it from now on. It's just like, it's just you feel light, that, and you don't need to tell anybody. You don't need to go, I got it, and you like go and Well, the deeper you get it, the less you need to speak about it, the less you need to go and action it. It's just like it's now changed, and your action will come from a different place from now on. Your words will come from a different place. But you don't need to go and justify what you did before and go, oh my God, the way I did it was wrong and now I've got it, That's when you know someone still hasn't got it. Because they have a judgment of what they did before. Microphone? So does that let me just finish with Malcolm first.
That lightness of thought is so poignant. I feel light in saying this. It's just watching a few facial expressions when you're explaining the stuff before that smoking, it's not the smoking that kills you. Can I not just accept that that's what my infinite self has created?
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that. It's like smoking in my story can possibly create cancer and possibly kill you.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that. I just want to accept it. Can I just accept that?
Yeah.
And then continue to feel instead.
Can you accept something bigger?
Mm.
That your infinite self is you?
But I've programmed myself to experience being Malcolm.
I know. But you didn't come here to be Malcolm. You came here to experience through Malcolm. And this path and why you're on this program is for you to realize that big Malcolm is you. Not you, the little Malcolm.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's what this journey is all about. This 12 months that we're sharing together is all about you realizing you're big Malcolm.
Little Malcolm just wants to be happy and go and enjoy being little Malcolm. It's fun.
Cool. But keep having fun with that right now. As long as you're having fun.
All right.
Okay.
Back to the original question. I think it goes both ways. Your thoughts become things, and your things become
But
things.
when does your things become? When does your thoughts become things?
All the time.
Does it?
Yeah.
So you think about something and it becomes things all the time.
Yeah, I think my reality reflects what I'm thinking about. Yeah,
So then why don't you change your thinking and change your reality?
exactly.
Have you tried that before?
Yes.
And how did you go?
Not too good.
Hey?
Yeah. It's kind of a thing that I don't feel that I'm in control of.
Okay.
But when I do change my thinking, yes, the reality changes. Absolutely.
So why can't you change your thinking? Because you think you're your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot change your thinking if you think those thoughts is who you are. The
Mm-hmm.
thoughts are having you. You cannot change the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Where your thoughts become things is where I as the big Amir gets onto the computer and uses thoughts through Amir to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
But when that happens, the experience is something like this. I'm driving along, the thought comes, right? And then it happens. And I'm like, oh my God, I just thought that. Then the thought starts going, yeah, well, we can think whatever we want and we can create whatever we want. But the thought just took over. I'll give you an example. In Venice Beach, if anyone's ever been to my house, there's this artist in Venice Beach. They have, all these artists on the weekend or throughout the week, and they do these amazing things. And there's one particular artist, he melts bottles and makes them flat, right? And I think it's amazing. He's got bottles of, Grey Goose and VB or whatever, and they're all flat. And I stick them on my wall in my kitchen. So I have this art. And I remember the first time I saw it, I thought, how cool is that? And I think I bought a Corona bottle of Grey Goose, and there was about 2 or 3 bottles, okay? And then when I brought that back to Australia and put it and stuck it in my thing, I was thinking, well, why didn't I buy more of them so it fills up the whole wall? And, I want the complete wall of my kitchen to be complete. So then I was like, okay, well, I go to America once a month, so next time I'm there, I'll go look for this guy and get some more. So next time I went and looked for the guy, he wasn't there. Next time I went, looked for the guy, he wasn't there. Next time I went like 4 or 5 times, because I stay in Venice all the time. So I would walk past, where's this guy, right? And next time I was flying to Venice, which was last month, I was flying with Sally. And as I'm there, I had it up. I thought, I really want to find those things, those bottles, because I want to complete the set. And I said to Sally, I really want to find those bottles. It'll be awesome, you know. She's like, oh yeah, cool, you know. So she said, well, we'll go look for it, right? Then, here's the thing. One day, we got up and we went to the Venice part, and where all the artists are doing their things, and you know, we saw some cool things. And I wasn't even looking for those bottles. I forgot I even said it, right? Because I didn't say it. I didn't say it. It was one of those, just popped into my mind. And how do you know it just pops? An image usually comes with it. It's like a settled feeling comes with it. It's just like right? So I'm at the Venice, the promenade thing, and I'm not looking for the bottles, but we're just looking at all the other arts. I totally forgot that I was looking for the bottles, right? I'm going along, and we're seeing some amazing things, and we've pretty much come to the end. We're like, we're done. And as I came to realize we're going to turn around now, the thing came up again. And I remembered the bottles, and I said, all we need now to complete our day is to find the guy that does the bottle. Oh, there it is. And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Now that's me as my infinite one, using the thoughts and going, all we need now, da, 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 da. But then I can say, look how powerful my thoughts are. I thought about that. I didn't think about that. Thinking about that means like you're coming like this and you're like, what should I do next? I wonder what life is about. You know, like it's a thinking thing. Like when it's a right, I was doing something else and it just interrupted what I was doing. It's like a moment of presence came and interrupted. It went. Can you guys relate with that? Like you're on the toilet, you're having a shower, you do something, you're not even thinking about that, but suddenly it just goes. Comes out of nowhere. Can you see it's different? And when it rises, it's light. And I just said, and I just went, oh yeah, the bottles. Now, in the story or in my head, I've looked for those bottles 6 or 7 months, not in a row, but 6 or 7 months. I've looked 6 or 7 times. I've looked for those, and they're not there. So in the story or in my head, fat chances I'm going to find those things. And I would come up with a strategy. Well, honey, maybe you start on this end, you start on another, and then maybe we can find it. You know, you go up that way. You go. Maybe it's not on a Friday. Let's go on a weekend. See, these are all the strategies that I come up with in my head. But this wasn't a strategy. I'm just walking. What will make our day complete is if I found that guy now that does the flat bottles. Seriously, 1 second later, my head turns, I'm like, that's him. And it just comes into your hand. Those thoughts become things. But otherwise, it's your attention goes onto things, and then you think about those things. You're thinking about the things. That's when the ego or the thought is thinking. It's the computer trying to use itself without having a user. How much control does a computer have? Depends how I programmed it. It has a little bit of control. The clock works on its own. You know, it resets or reconnects or whatever. It does the everyday stuff. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go eat. It's just the normal stuff I programmed. This is my belief. This is this. But then there's me going bottles, those artistic bottles. That I didn't think that. And I just want you to notice in your own life, there's things, just like I gave you the idea of the feeling. You got the feeling part. You're like, yeah, I didn't decide to fall in love with that person. I just noticed that I was in love with that person. I didn't decide that I love riding motorbikes. I just noticed that I loved riding motorbikes. I didn't go, like, even like riding, but I would never ride motorbikes before. I don't ride, currently I'd ride a Harley, right? But I never had a desire to ride motorbikes. But one day, I noticed how cool would it be to ride a motorbike. But before, I had these thoughts of motorbikes are dangerous and why would you ride a motorbike? There's nothing, But suddenly I like to ride motorbikes. And in the story, how it happened, because then I go, well, how did that happen? Well, in the story, my brother started riding a motorbike. So then I go, well, he started riding a motorbike, so then I decided that I love riding a motorbike. No, I didn't decide. I didn't decide the love for it. Go back to your life and look at anything that you have love for. It found you. Love is not something you find. Love is something that found you. So therefore, if you can have a link there and you're like, yeah, you're right. I never decided that. It was decided for me. Now when I say it was decided for, by who? By your big self. It's not like, oh my God, it's out of my hands. That's what the ego is thinking now. I have no control. It's all predestined. No, you're predestining it, moment by moment. You're choosing it. But here's the thing, like we spoke about in manifestation, I believe, or I can't remember what month this was. The part of you that's infinite, that is choosing, doesn't choose like the finite part that chooses. The finite part that chooses over here and goes, should I do this? Should I not? And it's all based on positive or negative things, good or bad, right or wrong, better or worse. Okay? Remember, we spoke about this in previous months. The infinite part of you doesn't choose, it is chosen. Why does the infinite part, why is it chosen? Because there's only one. It's not determining between two things, is it? It is, therefore, the infinite part of you is chosen. You look more confused now. Who was there for that month when I was talking about that? Anyone was here? It's chosen. It's like, that's why I said, when the feeling arises or when you have an awareness in your being that like this ball is going over, all you're doing is you're just choosing to follow the feeling. You see this, me trying to describe this to some of my team in the webisodes. You decide to follow the feeling. What do you feel? And again, the feeling is just an expression of the nothingness. And you know it's an expression of the nothingness because it feels light. If it feels heavy, it's come from here. The only thing I do is align my head to my heart. I choose to follow the decision that is already made. When something is infinite, it just decides. But it's not that it decides, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this. The decision is made. It's one. If there's only one, the decision is made. How many times, I'll give you a reference point. How many times do you feel something was going to happen? How many times have you felt that? I know I'm going to marry this man. I know I'm going to marry this woman. I know I'm going to do this business. I know I'm going to go overseas. I know I'm going to meet someone today. I know I'm going to... That is the infinite part of you that has made the decision. And then you become aware of it, and then you just go, I know this is going to happen. That's what it feels like. That's when you know the decision is made. You already know the ball's going over. And if you think about how, the ball's not going over anymore. Why? Because the identity took over. It's like in that moment you're connected to, like the article said, you become connected to the whole. It wasn't the exact words he used, but he used the word the whole, right? But then you think, but how? So then you've gone back into the head, right? And disconnected from the whole, and you're going back to the drop. And it's all about how, the strategy. Something that's finite needs strategy. Something that's finite needs to work to get this done. Something that's infinite, and there's times where you've had that infinite experience, it just happened. And then someone will go, how did you do that? And you've got no idea how you did it. You've got no idea, and that's the total truth. But you'll go here and go, well, I remember, when someone goes, how did you do that? I didn't want to sound stupid. I want to take ownership. I wanted to own that I did that. I wanted to take credit for it. So therefore I'll say, well, you just got to be smart. It's a lot of work I've done here. I've a lot of practice. And I'm just trying to build myself up. But really, I had no freaking idea how I did that. And that's the truth. But you don't want to say that, because then it looks like it wasn't you. So therefore you can't take credit for it. Dico.
When I was growing up, probably for the first 25 to 30 years of my life, I was really always sick. I had a lot of power in being sick and ill, and I had some pretty chronic stuff happen as well. But there came a point where I was like, I just had this massive realization that I had created it all.
How did you have that realization?
I don't know, it just came to me.
Like a...
Yeah, like that,
okay.
right? And I felt really ill, because I was like, fuck, why would I do that to myself? And I went into the whole guilt and whatever, and then I put a reason around it. It was like, oh, my way of getting love and attention and blah, blah, blah. But then later on, I also had this realization that, fuck, I don't need to be sick anymore. I just decided in a moment that I would no longer be sick, and then I was no longer sick. And I didn't go into the how.
But you decided, I just want to break down what you said. You said the word, fuck, I don't have to be sick anymore, right? Then I decided not to be sick. Can you see what I'm saying? There is a part of it said, fuck, I don't need to be sick anymore. That's the infinite part, right? Then she chose that I don't need to be sick. What was the first word you said? I just want to make sure exactly what you said. Fuck, I don't need to be sick anymore.
Yeah.
Then what was the second thing you said?
So I chose to no longer be sick.
So then I chose not to be sick. So what she's saying there is, then I chose to follow the feeling that said, I don't need to be sick anymore. This part doesn't have power. Then I chose to follow the feeling. What most people make a mistake here is they feel they don't need to be sick anymore. So then they go, all right, I don't need to be sick anymore. So what do I need to do to not be sick anymore? It's already done. You're choosing to follow the feeling, not look for the story, in the story, how you don't have to be sick anymore. Not to look for validation of why you don't need to be sick anymore. It's already decided. And who decided? The big dicko. That sounds wrong. The big Rachel, I won't use her nickname there, it doesn't seem right. The big Rachel decided, and then the little Rachel went, I trust what this decision has made. It is the expanded you and the little you coming together. And then suddenly, you weren't sick. But what happens is you then automatically go put power into something. Because what normally happens, I'm not saying this will happen for you, is then the ego or the thought goes, well, I just cured myself. Right? And it puts power into, how are you cured yourself? Well, I noticed I changed what I ate. I noticed this. I stopped smoking. I stopped doing this. I started exercising. But those things you did because you felt moved to, so then there can be a story to justify why you healed yourself. That you're always going to find a reason of why you got sick, why you got better, why you did this, why you didn't. But they're stories. This is what I continuously work with within my team. They're stories. They ain't real. What's real is what you feel to do. And guess what? Whenever I feel to do something, I only feel to do my part. And when I say my part, I am infinite. But the infinite is not just in this body, it's everywhere. So the other part comes through, like I decided to start Be Free People. Then a part of me comes in the form of Rachel. A part of me comes through in the form of Melanie. A part of me comes in the form of Ryan. A part of me comes in the form of Patrick. And everybody goes, I love to do this. I love to be here. Don't look at the webisodes. You haven't seen the whole thing yet. They love it. Because I get all kinds of comments on the webisodes, you know. People email me and like, you're a bully and da-da-da. It's like, relax, just wait another few weeks. It's out of context. Wait until, you know, you're the same as Hitler, da-da-da-da. Something like, I don't know, I didn't read it. There was some same. But the point is, but there's both. There's both. You're going to get people going, oh my God, this is amazing. I got so much out of it. Oh my God, this is just your shit. Amir, you're a dickhead or whatever, you know. There's both. But my point is this. My point is not about the webisode. My point is that it's me through Rachel that shows up. I want to talk about this. Then it's I through you show up here. So I can talk about this. Because the infinite Amir decided to bring more of Amir out through talking. So then I manifest, when I say I, the infinite part of me manifests through you. You see what I'm saying? This is when you start to realize you are outside. I didn't manifest you. I didn't manifest feel. I manifest through feel. Amir comes through feel and says, hey Amir, I want to do this with you. Because if I think I manifest the feel, I'm in the identity. It's the small me. No, I don't have any control there. I manifest a part of myself as Amir, and I manifest the other part to come in the form of feel. It's the same. Okay, we had some hands going up left, right, and center, so okay. We'll go with Radek first.
Don't we have the power or choice to follow or not to follow the feeling?
It's a really good question. Do we have the power or choice to follow the feeling or not to follow the feeling? How can I squeeze this one out? All right, here it goes. If you're meant to choose to follow the feeling, you will. If you're not meant to, then you won't. Just like your ego, the thoughts take credit and goes, yeah, I did this. It also gives blame and goes, oh, I know I've got to follow that feeling, but I just can't. This is why I continuously train my team, don't push the clients, only push their boundaries to help them expand. And it's very different. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. Just push their boundaries. They already know they're going to do it. So to answer your question, there's a process that is taking place for you to realize who you are. And within that process, it may be supportive for you to not yet be able to follow the feeling. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was telling you about an interview. I was in an interview, and the lady that was interviewing me was telling me about, because we're talking about intuition and all that kind of stuff. And she was telling me about how, you know, one day she saw her husband walk across the living room, and right there she had and it said, "This is no longer your husband. It's finished." Right? But then she was not ready in the story, or she let's just say she wasn't ready, so she wasn't meant to decide to follow the feeling yet. All right? There needed to be a process to take place. And I'm just giving you an example of what could, you know, because I'm guessing there may be a process that she needed to go through, but after 2 years, she came to realize that yes, that is true for me, and left the husband. Okay? So then what I was saying to her is like, well, 2 years before you weren't meant to. How do I know you weren't meant to? Because you didn't. Okay? But the thought comes in and goes, I should have gone 2 years ago. I knew 2 years ago. Why didn't I go? Because you weren't meant to. Question? Give the microphone back.
So why did you have it, the feeling or the thought?
Like I said, this I can only guess because it's for her. I know for myself. All right, my guess for someone when they have that feeling, because it starts a process. Okay, and when I say process, the sizzling starts to take place. If someone's ready, right, like this, it's like the cooking. You put the heat on, you put the steak on, right? When it's ready, when it's been there long enough, it's been processed, it's sizzled, right? Then I'm ready to eat the steak or the mushroom or whatever it is, right? So in her case, it took her 2 years for her to be finally ready to make that decision. But the thing is, the thought then goes, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that 2 years ago? Because you weren't meant to. Now, why weren't you meant to? I can't answer that. But I'm just giving you an example. It could be she wasn't ready yet. I can't really, all I know is everything in my life that happens, it's meant to be. And I don't need to know why it's meant to be. All right? My head needs to know why it's meant to be. I don't. So I don't care about why it's meant to be. But a lot of times, it comes to me, this is why it wasn't meant to be. But the reason why it wasn't meant to be is always related to the story anyway. Because in the story, well, if you did that, then you would have never met this person. Well, if I was meant to meet that person, no matter what, there would have been another story that would have met that person. Can you see what I'm saying? So we find in the story why it wasn't meant to be or why it was meant to be. But the truth is, I can't answer to you why it wasn't meant to be or why it wasn't. I just know it was meant to be or it wasn't meant to be. I just know that. I don't know why, and I don't care why. But as I go along, sometimes I have realizations of, look at it in the story. But that's just story. It's almost like, oh wow, I was right. I was meant to do that. So for example, I meant to get on this plane, right? And then I missed the plane. I'm like, oh my God, I missed the plane. I paid $10,000 for that ticket. Da da da. But then the plane goes and crashes. And then I'm like, oh my God, lucky I didn't get onto that plane. Like that would, I was meant to miss that plane. But see, I'm saying I was meant to miss that plane. My meant to is not coming from my knowing of I was meant to. It's coming from the story. Because why can't you then say? Because this is why it's difficult. Why can't I then say, well, why couldn't I catch the plane and then the plane didn't crash? Can you see what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is don't get the meant to or wasn't meant to based on the story. Although you may get some, but the story is just giving you, let's call it like we spoke last month, reflections. That's all they are. It's just a reflection. Oh wow, it's almost like and remember, reflections are just signposts. So it's just a signpost. Yes, I wasn't meant to do that, but that's not why you weren't meant to do that. The story is just giving you a signpost of why you weren't meant to. Does that make sense? Don't take the story quite literally. It's just a signpost. You satisfied with that? Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I had a similar, a question that's in line with that. Maybe she did start following the feeling that day because a part of her started to leave her husband on that day. It might have taken a couple of years, and the question I had was related to what Dicko had shared. Was I was really
the small Dicko or the big Dicko?
Big Dicko, little big Dicko and Dicko.
I'm just joking. Go on.
Sorry, Rach. So I had been really ill for 5 years, and then I just found this person to go and see an Ayurvedic doctor. And when I met him, it's like he saw me. It was like, and I knew then that this was where I was meant to be. But it was a process of a couple of years until my health was regained. It wasn't an instant thing, but I followed that feeling to be there that day. So it's sometimes it be an unfolding, even though that's the how. I wasn't instantly healed.
Well, sometimes everything's always unfolding.
Yeah.
But don't worry about how it's unfolding.
Yeah. But it was a feeling. That's where I was meant to be, and it was kind of like grace, because I just was in tears, because it was like, finally, I could let go of holding on to whatever it was, the small
But
self.
this is what I'm trying to say. Your big you,
Yeah.
right, decided it's time to move on from this,
Yes.
and then created all this story of I felt to go here, and then finally I met this guy, and
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
why. That's what got programmed
Yeah.
in the computer. Okay, that's what was given in the script
Yeah.
for the writer and the director. Right? Somebody wrote you wrote that in the script. Okay, I've got what I got what I came to get from that. Okay, now I'm going to change my story.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But in the story, because you as the physical think, you're part of the story, and in the story, it's designed for you to think you're in control, because otherwise you wouldn't be experiencing all these things. You wouldn't be giving so much importance to so much things. Which is one of the questions I'm going to leave with you to ponder over lunch.
Yeah.
What if what I'm saying is actually true? Okay? Because if you were in control, everything becomes more, you put more importance, you put power in things. But if you, as the physical, is not control, then you stop thinking and putting power into things. All right? So my point is, I don't want to lose you there, my point is that there is a part of you that decided that was finished, and then it wrote in the script a story of why it was finished. And then you were like, I followed the feeling, right? So the feeling came to you,
Yeah.
right? But you didn't get healed because you followed the feeling. You got healed because you decided that's when I say you,
that's
the
why I
big
was
you.
asking the question,
Yeah, the big you.
because there was following the feeling, but there was also that.
But you were always
story
going to follow
around-
the feeling. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because in the big part of you, put in the computer, okay, it's done, and then suddenly let's say you're someone who never follows the feeling. Suddenly in that moment you followed the feeling, right? Because you were always going to follow the feeling. You were never not going to, because it was put in the program. You will follow this feeling.
Yeah.
But the little part wants to take ownership and credit for this. Goes, yeah, well, this happened because I followed the feeling and I was able to, and I achieved something. I overcame something. But the big part of you doesn't need to achieve or overcome something.
It was already going to do that anyway.
It was already going to do that.
But anyway, yeah.
My sister knew she was going to pass away at 19. She already knew that. She even told me once. And at 19, she passed away. All right. Anyone else? Back over here.
Did I get it right? You said that we always follow the feeling.
Sorry?
Did I get it right? You said that we always will follow the feeling.
If you're meant to. You see, you may have a feeling and you don't follow it because you're not ready to follow it. I can't tell you why you're not following it, but all I can tell you, you're not meant to. But the thing is, when you know you are exactly where you are, right? Now, be careful, because the ego will come in right now. The feeling says, yes, you should do this, right? And then the ego goes, well, it doesn't matter if I don't. If I'm not meant to, I won't. Right? But that's okay, because that's what you're meant to experience now. To experience the ego, and then for you to go, oh my God, that was the ego. I actually did feel... What I'm trying to get you to realize is that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and you're going to go exactly where you're meant to go. But at the same time, it's not predestined. You're choosing that in this moment. In this moment right now, you're choosing that. But I say you, I'm not talking about any aspect of you that is of the physical. This is the physical. Thoughts are linked to the physical. Remember, even in that article, in that moment, like if you someone was saying that they continued to read the article. Who was it? It was Wendy. If you continue to read that article, I'll leave it out here. He actually says, I kicked that, and it felt like, what did he say? Yeah, it's like I'd seen this 100. It felt like I'd seen this 100 times before. I knew it was going over. And he's not necessarily talking about practice. He's talking about timelessness, because when you're experiencing in that moment, it's timeless. So everything that ever did happen, everything that ever will happen, everything that is happening in the same moment. So the moment you do something, you already know it's going over, and it feels like you've already done this before, which is what most people call deja vu. Yeah. It's like I'm having a moment of deja vu, which is a moment of timelessness, where you're experiencing, have I done this before? Have I been here before? Well, if it's timeless, if you're experiencing a glitch or a moment of timelessness, well, they say glitch in the Matrix, in the movie The Matrix. When you're experiencing a glitch in your Matrix and you experience, I've been here before, because in that moment you just had a moment of timelessness where everything did happen, everything that will happen, everything that is happening in the same moment. So he had already kicked that ball. And he said it felt like I kicked it hundreds of times, like it's over in my mind, I've done it already. Because right there in that moment, it flashed into his mind. He had that timelessness, and he's like, it's the infant part. It's like, it's happened before. It's just going over. I'm not trying to do this for the very first time. I've already done this. How are we feeling? We're all right? You got to go to the bathroom? Well, it's lunchtime anyway, so I want to leave you with an exercise, right? We're going to take the 90-minute like we normally do. You can have lunch by yourself and ponder on this question, or you can have lunch with others and have a conversation about this question. What if what we've spoken about so far is true? Because you don't really know it's true. I mean, obviously there's a part of you that is sensing what I'm saying, right? Because otherwise you still wouldn't be sitting here. Right, Rhiannon? Or are you just waiting for Dad? She's sitting here going, full eyes open. Wow. Some of you are like, you know, the heaviness, it's just, you go into your head trying to process it, and you're like, oh, I'm getting really tired. She's sitting here. Amazing. Love it. So, the question that I leave with you is, don't take my word for it, but what if what we've discussed so far is true? In a nutshell, what we've discussed is that those thoughts that you keep thinking, none of them have power. The story has no power. The thoughts are linked to the story. They have no power. You're not choosing it. You're not choosing the feelings, your intuition, your guidance, what you love. You're not choosing it. I'm talking about you as this physical. Yes, it's you, but not this part. You're not choosing it. So what I'm saying to you is, what if you had no control? If you had no control, right? Forget about right now the big part of you even. What would be different? If you had absolute no control, and this big part of you is infinite, but this part of you has no control, what would you do differently? Don't answer it now. I want you to ponder on it, all right? And then we can discuss that after lunch. But really ponder on it. I asked the Melbourne guys to do that. I think they just went and talked about the footy or something. All right? Really ponder on that question. What if that were true? What if what we've spoken about so far is true? You're not in control. You don't have any power. The drop cannot move the ocean. But the ocean is moving the drop. And who you really are is the ocean. But your experience of the drop right now is what you're experiencing right now. The experience of perception comes from the drop. What if you have no say? What if you have no control? How would you do things differently? That's my question. How would you show up differently?